Okay, let's take a look at a passage that's often used as a proof text for the deity of Christ or the idea that God became a man. And proponents of the King James Bible still like to use this text as a proof text. Because in the King James Bible, in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, it reads, "And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up in glory." Now, this part right here, this God was manifest in the flesh, is supposed to be the proof text. And a lot of King James only advocates like to point out that modern translations have taken this out as if they've corrupted the text. They've corrupted the Bible by changing the word God to who, changing it to the pronoun who, which is referring to Jesus. And so I don't think that modern translations have corrupted the Bible. I think that this was a later corruption that the King James used when translating their text, and that the original reading was who was manifest in the flesh. The first thing I'd like to point out, um, well, first of all, in the Greek text over here, this is the relative pronoun for who, os, osephanerothi in sarki, edikeothi in pneumati, ophthi angelius, ekeruchthi in ethnisin, epistevthi in cosmo, anelymphthi in doxi. I mean, you can clearly tell that this is a creedal statement. And something interesting about these creedal statements is they almost always begin with this relative pronoun. Let's take a look at Colossians chapter 1, verse 15. Who is the image of God? Os estin ikon to Theo. Os. Again, we have os. Philippians chapter 2, verse 6. Who, being in the form of God, os en morphi Theo euparchon. Os. We have it again. So, yes, these creedal statements began typically with this relative pronoun. And something else that I noticed that I haven't read anything about, I've never heard a scholar comment on it, but when we keep the relative pronoun, the first pair in this creedal, the first two lines, the first pair in this creedal statement, it has a balance of syllables. It has 9 syllables in o sephanerothi in sarki, edikiothi in pneumati. You have 9 syllables and 9 syllables. Os ephanerothi in sarki. That's 9. Edikeothi in pneumati. That's 9. Now, if we change this to theos, it has 10 syllables. And that would throw this out of balance. But again, I'm not saying that that's a good argument. This is just something that I noticed. I've never heard a scholar mention that. But in the last 2 lines, epistevthi in cosmo and elymphthi in doxi, you have 7 syllables, 7 syllables. So in the beginning and the end, you have a balance. Okay, let's jump straight to the manuscript evidence because that's really where the weight of this argument lies. So let's look at Codex Sinaiticus. It dates somewhere around the year 325, 350 AD, so very old. Totis evsevias mysterion os ephanerothi in sarki. Okay. The original reading in Codex Sinaiticus is the relative pronoun os. Now you can see where a later hand with different ink has inserted another syllable here, the, which was to be read before os. So you have theos. This is changing who to God. So a later scribe, he reads the relative pronoun here and he says, well, I've read somewhere else that it's actually God was manifest in the flesh. So instead of, striking through this, I'm just going to write kind of like a little note up here that this is actually supposed to read God. God was manifest or made known in the flesh. So now let's take a look at Codex Alexandrinus, which is probably more interesting, this variant. Again, here we have Mysterion, and then the letters in question, Ephanerothi, and Sarki. So is this os or is this theos? Well, theos can be written. If you don't know the Greek letters, I'll just explain it to you. A circle with a horizontal line through it is a theta. And what looks like a C here is a sigma. And when you have a horizontal line above those two letters, that is an abbreviation for God. It is a nomina sacra, a sacred name. And so they would abbreviate it, first letter, last letter in the word of theos, and they would smush them together, take out all the letters in between, and put a horizontal line above it. Now, do you notice anything about this horizontal line that looks different than the letters around it? Yeah, it's darker. It's a later hand that wrote this horizontal line. So if the horizontal line wasn't there, you can see where the letters on the other side of this vellum have bled through. Can we really make out that this is either an omicron or a theta? Not really, but we can see that the horizontal line wasn't original. So it's most likely that what we're looking at here is actually just an epsilon on the other side, or a part of the epsilon on the other side of the vellum that has bled through, which made this omicron look somewhat like a theta. Even with the bleed through, it doesn't completely look like a theta. It just looks like an omicron with a dot in the middle instead of a horizontal line that would go all the way through. So yeah, if we count down 8 lines, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we count over about 8 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we should be able to see where this right here has bled through because there's nothing behind it. Let's turn the page. Okay, I noticed this epsilon and this phi right here had bled through from the other side. You can see those plain as day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And sure enough, there's our omega that bled through from the other side. So let's count over about 8 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's our nomina sacra, the horizontal line from the other side, the later hand. So the later hand bled through to this side, but it didn't obscure the text on this side. So probably what we're looking at is this ink that was right here has bled through, because when this epsilon was made, this portion of the epsilon would have gotten struck by the pen twice, be more likely to bleed through, be darker ink there. So that appears to be what has happened, and I don't know how strong of a case can be made that this is actually where this reading originated. This idea that it was God who was made known in the flesh was this mistake, or this accident. Anyways, I hope that this was educational for you, maybe encouraged you to study deeper.